starting. And we are live.
All right, good to see you again.
Hello, everybody. Hey there. This is RJ Carter, senior editor with CriticalBlast.com. We're talking with Michael Tierney, the comic shop guy in Little Rock, Arkansas, owner of the comic Little Rock and collector's edition in Little Rock. If I got those mixed up or if I got them right there?
Nope, you got it right. Collector's edition in North Little Rock and the comic book store in Little Rock.
And we get together about once a month just to talk about the state of the comics industry and what's new in comics, what's selling in comics, what's not selling in comics, and what we're publishing in our own rights. And today we've got a special guest who wants to talk about Archie comics. We have junior staffer Galvin here, and he has...
Hey, Galvin.
Hi, Mr. Tierney.
Hello, how are you? Good to see you again.
Yeah.
So what were your questions about Archie that you wanted to get answered here real quick?
Mr. Tierney, I wanted to ask you if you have heard about any Archie comics lately. There are special ones out there like Archie Comics #1, and
you talking about the first one?
Yes, the first one.
Yeah, they're kind of aiming Archie at a little bit older reader. Used to, they were always just aimed perfectly at your age group there, and now unfortunately they're kind of aiming at a little bit older, where sometimes we can't even sell them to younger readers. So, I mean, Archie was just such a great name brand, such a great franchise. Then they tried to go for a different market, and they're kind of leaving their established customer base behind. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
You'd like to read those digests so that we get at Walmart, right?
Oh, yeah. Every weekend almost, I like to get Archie comics into checkout.
Now, you have an Archie comic that is an old one that you got framed, right?
Yeah.
What, do you know which one that is?
I forgot. I totally forgot.
Archie as...
Pure Art the Powerful. Oh,
That's
yeah,
right.
Pure Art the Powerful. That's what it was.
That's right. And you've also got, you like to collect those hardcovers of Archie Americana?
Yeah.
And Archie in the 50s?
Oh, yeah, I have those packed away somewhere.
So what's the other Archies? How come I can't let you read Archies anymore?
Some are Riverdale ones and are too mature. So I just stick with the Archie Comics Digest.
The classic stuff.
Oh, yeah, the classic stuff.
Yeah. What are they putting out these days, since Archie has obviously gone the way it's gone? What does a guy like this get to read these days in the comic book store? Where do you direct them?
Well, we've, it's kind of funny because when I opened up back in 1982, every single book in my store was appropriate for anybody of any age. Then they started discovering that they were overlooking the older reader, and it was an untapped market. Well, all of a sudden discovered there's a whole new market. They made, the Dark Knight Returns. They made Watchmen. The only bad thing about that was everybody thought, okay, dark and grim and gritty is the way to go. And so like any pendulum, it swung from one extreme to the other. So now all of a sudden it got to the point where there was almost nothing being made for younger readers, which is where your next generation of readers are going to come from. Kind of an important market to forget. And so we had to create in my store a younger reader section. Now we carry nothing adults only. I'm too close to schools and churches. I'm zoned where I can't carry what's considered adults only material. But there got to be where there's just so little product being made kids anymore. I actually had to create their own little section, a rack for them, just actually 2 racks. And that's, all they're making new. Of course, we've got tons of older stuff that's all age appropriate, because anything basically before the 1990s is going to be okay for anybody of any age. And so we've created our own section, but it's not a big selection. Marvel makes a very limited fare. Matter of fact, Marvel has forgotten how to make all ages comics. So when they decide they want to make a new all ages comics again, which they just launched a couple of them, the Spider-Man and Avengers, and they're going to be doing a Black Panther real soon, they had to get somebody else to publish them for them because they just basically forgot how to do them. So
those are the ones going to IDW, right?
Yeah. Then other than that, it's like Teen Titans. Or Tiny Titans, and that's just about it from DC. And then they do the younger reader little trades every now and then. When I say trades, more kind of like digest books. And then you're talking about My Little Pony, DuckTales. It's really a limited selection.
So it seems like the market is either very adult, and you can't let kids read it, or it's preschool stuff that the older kids don't even want to get into. So we're missing this huge chunk of market where the reading development actually begins to grow in children, younger children, and the people who will come in and find a superhero or some other comic character, relate to that character so much that they'll end up buying it their whole life. And I don't know. I think we've got maybe 15 years maximum. I know a lot of people are saying the comic book industry is deflating and coming down very shortly here.
Well, they've had ignored younger readers. They're just now, I think, starting to realize that this is an untapped marketplace. Just like, the older readers was an untapped market that they discovered in the late 80s. The younger readers are just now suddenly realizing, hey, kids do want to read comics still. And the sad thing about it is that so many of the comics that are considered for older readers, like teens and older, they could be appropriate for kids. All they have to do is just take out the dirty word, the F-bomb or whatever, and do what you and I read as a kid, have the pound sign, exclamation mark, at sign. We figured out that's a curse word. We can fill in the blank. And what's even stranger for me, when they started trying to do more mature readers comics, it seemed like they were actually more for immature readers than mature readers. I mean, they're just really just got silly. And, and I always wondered, how come all the, everybody would curse the exact same cursage language? I mean, you don't have like a longshoreman going to use the same kind of word choice as maybe a preacher, or, every different walk of life uses a different word choice for how they're going to curse. But in the comics, they all use the exact same language. And I always wondered about that until I went on that comic book legal defense fund cruise back, like I forget if it was 99 or 2000. And I heard the creators talking among themselves. Well, that's how they talk to each other. So I guess they figured everybody talks like us.
Yeah, they put themselves into their characters. Galvin, you got anything you want to say for a Critical Blast here? You want to tell people about our GoFundMe?
What's GoFundMe?
What's GoFundMe? GoFundMe is when you try to raise money online for different things like an Indiegogo. Like we're selling our books on Indiegogo.
Oh, yeah.
You remember the last book we put out, Gods and Services?
Oh, yeah, Gods and Services. I have no idea about that.
You have no idea about that?
I just know the name. I don't really know.
Well, we're selling books to raise money to move where?
St. Louis, Illinois.
St. Louis, Missouri. But we're going to be on the Illinois side, aren't we?
Yeah, so it's hard to tell sometimes.
Yep, that's right. And we're going to be going next month. We have 1 month deadline coming up, don't we?
I know. Yeah.
Congratulations, you're headed to the Big Arch.
Yeah.
So you want to tell people who are watching the video, be sure to click our Indiegogo link, right?
Yep. Be sure to click the Indiegogo link, guys.
So we can raise money for this move in 1 month.
Yes. We want to save money to get this move over with.
All right, you done?
Well, yeah.
It was good seeing you, Alan.
Nice talking to you, Mr. Tierney.
Good talking to you.
And now we're going to move on to the state of the comic industry. I had to get that out of the way, get our junior guy.
Now, have I ever told you what the formula is for making kids comics?
I think you mentioned it last time, but
I thought I did. I just didn't want to repeat myself.
Go over that, well, you know what? We had new people come in all the time, so let's go ahead and let them hear it too. Again.
Well, it's just the formula was stated best in a BBC special about the making of the first year of the Doctor Who television show, which was programming, but is largely watched by adults. And in that special, they had the director of programming for the BBC program, BBC America explain, or not BBC America, BBC Channel, explaining to the producer of the Doctor Who show that the formula for making children's programming was you've got to keep it, got to dumb it down for the adults, but keep it complicated enough not to lose the children. Well, here in America, we do the exact same thing, exact opposite. We dumb it down for the kids, and we give the adults the complicated stuff. Well, the kids come in there and they look at this stuff. The kids are not dumb. They look at this stuff. Oh, I don't want to read that. So then the publishers say, well, they don't want to read comics. No, they don't want to read comics where they're being talked down to.
Right. They don't want to read the comics that you're making.
Right. They want to do like you and I did, read the same thing the adults were reading.
So we ended 2018. Diamond came out and pretty much said that, hey, we were wrong a little bit ago when we said we were kind of up. We were actually kind of down we were up in dollars by 2%, which didn't even keep up with inflation, but we were down like 6% in units on individual floppies, down another smaller percent on graphic novels. How has the year been shaping up in your store since January 1st?
My stores never do what everybody else is doing. It's kind of funny because they'll be saying, this is a great month. We've got all this stuff in. And well, what is it? Maybe they shipped a lot of units to other stores, but then those other stores go out of business because they got inventory that didn't sell. I don't order that stuff. And, so I'm really, tight on what it will sell well. And I've been hearing about how the start of this year is real down. But for me, it's up. I mean, I had my second best January ever in 38 years of business. That's a good sign.
So what was selling this January that drew people in?
Everything. And now one thing I do a little bit differently from a lot of the other stores around the country. Right now, there's this attitude of, new comics just carry just enough to sell it instantly, slash and burn, and don't ever carry anything older than just a couple months. I'm the complete opposite. I carry a huge back issue inventory. I carry it back to the 40s. And I don't have enough of the 40s as I'd like, but I get them whenever I can, and they sell. Same thing with the 60s. This is the stuff that anybody of any age can read, and it has a timeless demand. And so I sell a ton of back issues. And that just when the publishers won't make what people want to read in the new area, I'm fine because I've got the material they want to read in another format, time tested and approved.
So what is the I used to love back issues. I would get into the quarter bin because I would get the stuff that was like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about the older stuff, how are they appreciating now than when, like 20 years ago, we were like suddenly, oh my God, Action Comics just sold for $1,000. It's the first comic book to or for $100,000 even. I mean, we just bought a house with a comic book.
Yeah.
Is anything doing that these days?
Well, comic books are starting to go up more all the time. The 70s is just now starting to really become valuable. It's so funny. When I started in business in the 80s, a 20-year-old comic book was a good book. That was the 60s Marvel. I mean, that was the great stuff. All these original new characters coming up. Nowadays, a 20-year-old comic is not so good because that's the 90s, possibly one of the worst ages of comics ever made. I remember one time in one of my market reports for both the Overstreet and also for the Comic Buyer's Guide, because I was writing for both of them, I coined the phrase of the 90s were the dark age, because not only did the heroes become very dark themselves, you had an estimated 12 to 15,000 comic book retailers go out of business. That's a pretty dark age. And you had the collapse pretty much of the baseball card and the sports card market. Well, then you had all those speculators come into the comic book industry. So they were ordering all these things on speculation that didn't sell. They weren't that good. And let's put it this way. I take a lot of those 90s comics people bring in or stuff I've still had sitting around all this time. I put them in packs of 10 for $1. So that's pretty rough when you're selling books with like a $2 cover price and you're selling them for a dime, just to be happy to get that dime back out of them. The 90s was a pretty dark age.
So that brings up another question here, because if you don't run a comic book store, then you don't know what you have to put into it, because you've got to buy these comics to be able to resell them. They're not like dropping them off with returnability and you're keeping the profit. So what is your average comic now? About $3.99?
$4 is pretty much the price point now. Every now and then you get a few of the younger reader comics which have a price point of like $2.99, but it's getting less. DC several years back ran a program saying we were drawing the line at $2.99. Well, that line was written in the sand because that has been gone for quite a while now.
Yes, it has been. So what's a per unit cost on a $2.99 or a $3.99 book if you're a comic shop owner? You
cut out a little bit. I mean, I didn't quite catch that one.
What's the unit price for the what's the wholesale price, I guess, if you're going to buy a book?
Well, the wholesale
just to know how slim the profit margins are.
Yeah, the wholesale price varies from retailer to retailer. Depends on what the size you are. I'm like at about a 55% discount. Which is the same discount I've been at since 1982. We've got a real stagnant, pricing schedule for retailers that has just been in place for decades and decades and not adjusted as the years have gone by. That's something they really should look into. Because you go to the next level above that, it's just, you got to be in New York or LA, somebody just doing massive volume to get at a higher level. Some new retailers, when they come in and they're just building the business, they're going to be at like a 30% discount wholesale. And so, you've got to know what you're doing, because we're buying on a non-returnable basis. And if you buy something just because you think it looks pretty good, but the customers don't agree with you, it's going to be yours forever.
Now, when you say 30% or 55%, are you saying 55% of the cover price or 55% off the cover price?
The cover price, right.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's your discount. And then after that, then you've got to pay all your overhead, your expenses, your payroll. A lot of people offer a discount, like we offer a discount to reserve services. So that, reduces our margin quite a bit there. So that's just the start of, your expenses is the cost of the book. Then it gets added on from there.
Now, historically, when DC or Marvel have a movie out, do you experience a bit of a push on that title when that happens?
The first movie you do, it's like you're not going to have a new Star Wars movie and have somebody come in, hey, I just heard about the Star Wars things. New Star Wars fans have to be born. And it's the same way. I saw it with the Batman movie in '89. That was a phenomenon. I mean, I had so many people get turned on to Batman. That's when Batman became just, like another comic book to being like the icon of DC Comics. And used to, it was Superman that had him. Well, then Batman just, popped right to the top tier, and they've always made sure to keep him there by giving him the best writers and the best artists. And then, but all the other movies they do now, I just don't even see a bump. And it can work against the book too. Spawn and Hulk, when their first movies were getting ready to come out, they were really doing well. Then the movies came out and people didn't like them, and they just killed them. I mean, I could hardly sell half a dozen copies of Spawn between both stores combined. Hulk is starting to come back because they've done but it took them a long time because it's not until the Immortal Hulk with a good story, good art, some great Alex Ross covers, all of a sudden that was just blowing up. But up until now, Hulk has just been really doing poorly. Since this movie. Other ones, like Black Panther, there's a lot of interest in Black Panther when it came out. So, he did real well. When the second Black Panther comes out, it probably won't have any kind of a bump. It's just the same way on all these movies. The first one is where you get the interest, where people are discovering it for the first time. The second one, well, yeah, we've been there, done that.
So how about Captain Marvel then?
There has been some interest in Captain Marvel. Now, the problem with Captain Marvel is that's a name that's gone through a lot of permutations over the years. Captain Marvel back in the 40s and 30s, or I guess late 30s to 40s, he was a dude. He was Captain Marvel was actually done by Fawcett Comics and outsold Superman quite a bit. He was based on an actor by the name of Fred McMurray. You and I remember Fred McMurray as the fatherly guy in My Three Sons, which most viewers probably don't even know what show that we're talking about. But during the time when the comic was being made, he was kind of like the He-Man of his age, and I guess he was like the Rock, of today back at that time. So he was designed after him. Well, then Fawcett went out of business, and the trademarks lapsed. So Marvel snatched up the trademarks as they started doing a Captain Marvel comic. Later, DC starts, buys Fawcett out of bankruptcy, and has Captain Marvel, but they can't use it because Marvel's grabbed the trademark. So that's why it is now called Shazam. So you got two Captain Marvel movies coming out at the same time. One's called Shazam, one called Captain Marvel. Now back to the Marvel Captain Marvel, it gets even more convoluted because Captain Marvel originally was a blonde-haired white guy by the name of Mar-Vell, who was, I believe, a Kree Skrull warrior, and he had a symbiotic relationship with an Earthman, and then he died of cancer from fighting a guy by the name of Nitro. And then Captain Marvel was a young black lady from New Orleans for a while who's an energy being. Then there's now Ms. Marvel has become Captain Marvel, because Ms. Marvel, you had a whole other character who has now become Captain Marvel. So it's kind of confusing for people like, okay, I'm out. I'll just go see the movie. I just don't want to try to figure all that history out. So it's kind of
for Captain Marvel 1.
What's that?
If they come in looking for Captain Marvel 1, which month do you refer them to? Because she kind of reboots a lot.
Yeah, which Captain Marvel, which version? Yeah, it's and they just came up with a new number 1 now, so at least they did make it easier for new readers. Okay, well, here's a new number 1 just came out. This is the character. But if you want to go back to, I want the first Captain Marvel. That one's going to be kind of tough. Which Captain Marvel are you talking about?
And you're not even you don't have to worry about referencing the third Captain Marvel, which was the I can't even remember who the publisher was, but he was one of these guys who basically he went out and bought somebody else's comic, recolored it, or stole ideas from it, and put it out and just said, okay, go ahead and sue me if you've got the money. But he had a Captain Marvel that his body came apart in pieces. He would throw a punch and say, split, and his arm would fly off. And then he would say, zam, and it would come back together.
Ditko did that one. Yeah, I remember that now. I forgot about him.
Well, everybody did. It was not worth remembering.
Oh, yeah, it was not a very good comic. Ditko did a lot of great work, especially when he was at Marvel. And he did some other work that people have forgotten. And that's one I've forgotten about.
Well, one thing we can't forget is that this is going to be a very, very monumental month for you. This was the month that you launched the debut of Tarzan, Young Tarzan and Mysterious She. That was just a couple of weeks ago.
Well, that was actually an early release, and they actually went worldwide just yesterday.
Well, there we go. So worldwide listeners who are Tarzan fans definitely want to look up the most recent Kursova magazine. Let me quit talking so it can show you more.
Oh, you want to put it back up again?
Hold it back up there.
That's available in hardcover, for $30 and softcover for $10. I've had an exclusive on these for about 3 weeks. I've been doing signings at the store, this and that. Now everybody else in the world can buy it from other sources. The soft covers are available on Amazon. The hard covers are available on Lulu. And the difference between the hardcover and the softcover is the hardcover has no advertisements, but there is one advertisement with both of them, and that's on the back cover advertising my 4-volume Eight Garage Burroughs art chronology. 1,200 pages, 4 volumes, and 5,000 images.
Those things are beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
So we're going to go to Amazon now. We're going to get the softcover, and you're going to go to Lulu and get the hardcover. Is there a limited edition at Lulu, or is it just you're going to keep printing them as long as people are buying them?
That's something the publisher Kursova is going to control. I know that the hardcovers of his books do get hard to find after a while, so I'm not sure if he's going to keep that regularly in print or not.
Have you had any feedback on the ones that have sold?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right now, it's just all rave feedbacks. I already got a 5-star review on Amazon. Just went on sale yesterday. I already got a 5-star review, but that's somebody who bought an advanced copy. And the good thing is nobody can tell what part Burroughs wrote and what part I wrote. So that was what I was going for. Nobody could tell where the break was.
A nice little seamless issue there.
That's what I was going for.
Star Woke Inc. Nico in the chat here says the cover looks great. Thank you, Star Woke. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And while we have people here, I want to more professionally remind people of the GoFundMe and the Indiegogo that we've got on. I've been kind of telethoning those things. We are faith walking here. We have given a down payment to the movers, and we have given a down payment to the house people. But without the assistance of our viewers and our readers, I am going to be leaving this place 1 month from today, a couple of days from today, and driving to St. Louis. And right now, I have no idea how things are going to work out. I do not know where the funding is going to come from to finish paying for the house. I'm not even sure that I'm going to have enough gas to get there, but I'm loading everybody up, and we're hitting the road and crossing our fingers that all of our friends and family and readers can come through for us. We are selling the books, of course, on Indiegogo. That is our primary go-to, where we have copies of The Destroyer Bully Pulpit, copies of The Destroyer Continental Divide, and we've got Gods and Services, with which we have a story in there by Mr. Michael Tierney himself. So you definitely want to check that out when you're looking at Amazon for your copies of Kursova Magazine and Young Tarzan and the Mysterious She. However, the Indiegogo does take a little bit of time to turn funds around now. So as we get closer to deadline, we are starting to push that GoFundMe. I'd like to get to sleep some nights this week. So I'm a little bit worried about it. And yeah, that's why we brought the junior guy in here, so you can see that there's more than just some guy here running a company. This is a family-based business, and we definitely need your help. So, Michael, let's get back to talking about the business of comics here. What is it that, if you were planning out the next quarter here, what are you looking at to order? Because you do have to order in advance.
Oh, yeah, 2 months in advance.
2 months in advance. What is it that you are thinking? Because a lot of this, I think, this is kind of gut instinct for the stuff that people aren't asking for. And I can't imagine that every single person is saying, get this one and get that one. You got to look at some trends yourself. Mm-hmm. What's the gut instinct for stuff that's coming up that you want to get in stock?
What makes it so tough is there's just all these number ones, one-shots, miniseries. The worst thing are the weekly comics. Like right now they're running Avengers weekly comic, which those never sell as well as a regular comic. One, they're not taking the time to promote it or, get people interested in it. Weekly comics like, even DC's done it, Marvel's done it. They never sell out of back issue. They just don't connect with people. So, and a lot of times now they've learned that, guess what? Those miniseries don't sell so well for us. So they just don't tell us that this is going to be a miniseries sometimes. So that makes it even more difficult as a retailer. Right now, DC is actually outselling Marvel in my stores. Now, the way they're doing that is they don't do all the miniseries and little one-shots. Marvel right now is making like almost 40% more as far as the number of comics than DC is, but DC has a better overall per-line sales average than Marvel has by far. Right now, Marvels are selling less per average title than what they did my first month of business way back in 1982. I mean, it's insane. And so they're just diluting their own product brand. And also, I'll see, like right now this month, they've got a whole bunch of Age of X-Men miniseries and one-shots and things like that. And I just ordered really low on them. Every now and then there's one or two things like that you'll sell out of, but you don't know which one it's going to be, and you can't afford to carry them all. And all of the others, I won't even sell enough probably to cover expenses. I ordered way low what I think I should be selling out instantly, and I'll still have like half of them because you just don't know which one's going to connect with people.
Now, is Marvel, I get the opinion that Marvel is putting out a lot of miniseries that they don't know if it's going to be a miniseries when they start it or not. Because a miniseries, you know, it's going to be, hey, this is number 1 of 4, it's number 1 of 6. At the very largest, you know, we would have the Maxi series back when Camelot 3000 first hit. I think it was the first Maxi series. It was like 1 of 12. The whole year is going to be this book. You don't generally have a miniseries that stops at 7 or 9. It's almost like Marvel's like, okay, this isn't selling. Let's pull the plug on this. And pulling a Pee Wee Herman. Yeah, we meant to do that. It was supposed to be 7 issues.
Or they'll get a new artist. Okay, let's start it over again. Got a new writer. Let's start it over again. I mean, Marvel almost does nothing that's long-term numbering anymore because, you know, vendors, they'll just like restart it every year, another volume. Thank goodness they're putting a legacy numbering on there. That helps a little bit, but they forget that, you know, because they're thinking, okay, every time we do a new number 1, it's somebody's jumping on point. What they forget is that one person's jumping on point is somebody else's jumping off point. And, you know, so it's a kind of a steadily declining spiral. Downward spiraling staircase because they'll get a little bit of a bump from that new number 1, but then sales will always go down lower than what they were before. Well, so they'll do it again. We'll get another bump, and it goes down lower before. So what they're doing is constantly going down, and that's where they're at now. Where DC, they have done some relaunches, but it's only been 2 or 3 times in like the last, you know, so many years. Not as bad as what Marvel does, where it's like a yearly relaunch of everything, and so that's why DC has got the more stability. You've got, hey, if I want to start buying this, I can rely on this going to be here. I love it as a retailer because I know how that's going to sell. After that, then it's okay. Who's the artist? Who's the writer? Any changes there? Any storylines that sound interesting, anything to get my customers excited, then, you know, that's a lot easier than, okay, well, it's all relaunched. Everything's all new all over again. How many people are going to stick with it this time? Marvel just makes it really complicated. Then they throw other monkey wrenches in there. Like, okay, if you buy 3 times what you think you can sell this issue, then there's these other covers that the customers are really going to want. So buy all this dead stock, and then you can get the stuff people want. I mean, you can't do business that way. Where DC does the variants a lot smarter, in that they say, hey, however many you want, you get them. And they've got this guy by the name of Stanley Lau, goes by the name of Art Germ. He'll do variant covers, and sometimes those variant covers will sell 5, 6, 7 times what you normally sell that title. Well, that's the way you should do a variant cover. Make it like a piece of artwork and really do something special on it.
Okay, now what you just said there, I've heard about the predatory practices that have been going on in publishing, where you have to buy 100 copies or 50 copies of regular copy in order to get whatever you want of this new version. And you're saying DC doesn't do that?
No, they're not bad like that. Yeah, I mean, DC sometimes lets artists like on Detective 1000, Stanley Lau had his own covers that you could only buy from his website for like $30 a pop. They're sold out. Alex Ross has his own website, which you could only, you know, and they sold out, which I don't care for that, but, you know, because they were never made available to me as a retailer. And also, too, when you make variant covers, you know, like what I was just talking about DC and what's really happening a lot with Marvel. I mean, they have some variant covers. You have to buy 1,000, 2,000 copies to get one copy of this variant cover. Well, that has killed the completist. You can't say, I'm going to get every version of this. I want it all. You can't do that anymore. So they've taken a core element of their fan base and just ran a stake through its heart. Just said, we're just going to kill the Marvel zombie. We're done with you. And so now they just don't have that faithfulness from their customer base because they've made it just too hard to collect. You know, it really, and this is all kind of goes back. Do you remember a guy by the name of Bill Jemas who used to run Marvel?
I do remember Bill Jemas.
Well, he's the guy who started doing all these gimmicks. Now, do you remember what Bill Jemas did before he ran Marvel into bankruptcy? He was the guy in charge when they went bankrupt and had to come back out.
I want to say sports cards, but I'm not remembering correctly.
Yeah, he was in charge of Fleer sports cards, and he used that exact same model to kill and help crush the sports card market when it crashed back in the 90s. Remember, we were talking about that earlier about the speculator market coming over in the 90s when the sports market crashed. Well, Bill Jemas was a part of that, and he brought this whole mentality into the from the sports card market into us. And what he was doing is like, say you want to collect this one Fleer set of cards for this baseball season. Well, okay, he would make the chase cards so hard you could buy a whole case of boxes. And you wouldn't, you buy a box, you don't get them all. You buy a whole case of boxes, you still wouldn't get them all. You could buy 4 cases, you still could not find all the chase cards. And they thought you'd just keep buying and keep buying. And what happened was people said, forget it, I'm done. I'm not satisfied with this. I'm giving up, and I'm not even going to start on the next set. And so they just killed their own market by making it too hard for people to be completists. And so, Fleer goes out, and some guy had the idea of, okay, well, this guy just ran Fleer out of business. I'll put him in charge of Marvel. And, Marvel goes bankrupt. Spider-Man movie comes out with Sony, makes a huge lot of money, and Marvel starts making the movie and, comes out of bankruptcy, and then Disney comes along, buys them. And, they've been ascending ever since then, but they are still using Bill Jemus's failed marketing plan. Let's just make it where people will be so frustrated they'll give up.
Well, is anybody doing it right, though? I mean, somebody's got to be looking. Somebody always learns from somebody else's mistakes. And if Marvel's making mistakes,
you don't see the small publishers doing this. The small publishers don't do that. And small independent publishers are coming along real strong. They're doing well. They're actually easier for me to order than Marvel or DC because, they're real steady with what they do. They'll generally do one cover. If they do a couple covers, it's order what you want. I have no problem with them making a variant cover if I can order whatever I want. If I've got a customer who says, I want every cover of that, he gets every cover of that. I can't tell him, well, I'm sorry, I can't get you that Ross variant because I couldn't buy 1,000 copies of the regular one. Now, there is a book coming up, and I've always told people I would do this. This is the first time I ever had anybody take advantage of it. I always said that, like, if you want to buy the 500 copies of the book to qualify for the variant, I'll let you have that variant at cover price. But if I'm, otherwise I'm gonna have to charge a lot to try to offset for all those unsold copies. And I actually had a guy buy 500 copies of a book in an upcoming catalog so he could get the variant that comes with 1 in 500.
Okay, now what book is that? I mean, can we get him on the air when it happens?
Yeah. Well, now there is a detail in here that will make it more understandable why this is the first guy who did it. It's DC Villains. It's a quarter comic. So it's not like he's buying $504 books. He's buying $500 quarter books. But it's still like $125. But he's buying all those. And then it comes like with, I think, a variant every 10, a variant every 250, or a variant every 100, a variant 250. So he's going to get all those variants at cover price. So because he's buying all the books to qualify for him.
We got to do a live stream with him when he comes in to pick him up. Let's see if we can't schedule him to come get him on a Saturday and have him right there so we can watch him pick up 100 copies of DC Villains and his variant copy. And
500 copies.
500 copies.
500 copies.
Okay, so for people trying to visualize this, your average long white box holds about 200 copies.
About 300, actually, a long one. Now, the short one, about 300 now. But the long one, the old white ones, about 500. We don't sell so many of those long boxes anymore because when they switched over from pulp paper to the new high-quality coated stock paper, those boxes just got so heavy to carry. Everybody's like, nah, give me the shorter one.
Well, I've got the longer ones at home, and I guess mine are also bagged and boarded, so I'm puffing them out some.
Okay, now you're down to 200, yeah, because when you put those bags and boards, that takes up a lot of space.
Yeah. But basically, he's buying a long box of comics to get one.
Actually, he's buying almost 2 long boxes. So.
Oh, boy. So, yeah, we want to see that. That's going to be fun. We'll talk to him a little bit. Plus, I guess I know what he's going to be giving out for Halloween trick-or-treat this year.
Yep, I bet it's going to be a few comic books there. But he might, remember, they aim them for teenagers, so he may not be able to give them out.
Oh, that's right. It's a Marvel book. Oh, no, it's a DC book.
DC. See, DC and Marvel aim everything at the teen audience.
Well, DC shouldn't be too bad, I don't think. But, if the Joker's
you're the villains, there, and those villains are the bad guys.
This is true. All right, so we're going to wrap things up a little bit early today, Mike, because if you can hear, the ocean is kind of choppy behind me today.
All right. Well, let me talk about one other thing real quick if you got time.
Yeah, we got the time.
Because you and I did.
I'll just mute my mic when.
Can you hear me?
Mute my mic when you're talking so that the background noise doesn't jump in on you.
Okay. You and I were, we're talking on a radio live show during my signing last week, and we were talking a little bit about another new project I've got going on where I'm doing an online strip called Beyond the Farthest Star. It's adapting Edgar Rice Burroughs' novel. And so I'm doing it as an online strip. And that just started last week. So right now it's only up to about the second week. So you guys are getting to see several weeks or pretty soon a couple of months ahead. And so this is something that I'm doing. right now, and lots going on with it. And try to flip ahead here, get you to an interesting scene. So yeah, it's wild goings on another planet. A World War II fighter ace gets shot down out of the sky and teleported like 450,000 light years across the space to another world to fight continuous battle underneath the skies of an alien world. And Burroughs Inc. has already got T-shirts on Amazon, selling it there. So that's the other news I've got going on this month. So that just started last week. The second installment, it runs weekly. It's $22 for entire subscription to the entire inventory of Edgar Rice Burroughs' weekly online strips. I mean, they put like a dozen new strips out every week. And when you pay that, not only do you get all the new stuff, you get their entire archive of all the strips they've done ever. You get their entire inventory. The whole library is available for that subscription fee.
Now, where do they got to go to sign up for that?
Well, if you go to my website, I've got shortcut keys on there. My website is www.wild, W-I-L-D, stars, S-T-A-R-S. That's based on the Wild Stars comics I publish. And when you get there, just kind of scroll down. You'll see a link to Beyond the Farthest Star. And when you go over to it, you'll see teasers about it, information, giving you the background on the stories, a little more information about me and the artist John Lucas. And when you click on the teaser images or some other links in there, it'll take you directly to the subscription service.
Now, when you show those panels up there, that reminded me a lot of the old style Sunday comics, not these little thin, you can't read them strips, and certainly not the Sunday comics of today. I'm talking about the Sunday comics of the 70s and earlier when, a Peanuts would take up every space above the fold so you could actually see and read everything that was there.
Right.
You any format once they're off the web?
Yeah, they're because you'll notice when I'm doing the Beyond the Farthest Star logo, I'm giving these to Edgar Rice Burroughs Inc. in layers where they can just pull that logo out, bam, and then all of a sudden they just line them all up and they've got a graphic novel. And they are in negotiations with publishers to figure out who is going to publish them as graphic novels down the road.
That sounds great. Well, we're definitely going to want to follow that storyline, and when it comes out in book format, we'll have another party for signing.
Sounds good, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again, Michael. We'll get back as soon as we can here. Now, when's that DC Heroes coming out? Because I seriously do want to schedule that guy.
That's about a couple months away. I'm just placing my order here in the next couple of weeks, so 6 weeks to a couple months.
All right. Well, God willing, I will be in Illinois and in a house at the same time, and we will be broadcasting from our new base of operations to do that.
Well, good luck to you.
Michael, thanks for coming by.
Have a good, safe move.
As long as we get there, I'll be happy. It's going to be a straight through drive, and I'll tell you, it's been a little heart stopping and stomach churning when I keep looking at the costs and I keep looking at the bucket. So it's a faith walk. I just believe that everything is going to come through. Sure, it will.
Good luck to you.
Soon. Thank you, sir. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.